Welcome back. In this video, we'll keep going with the permission request. And this is really important for whatever permissions you want to request. It's not only relevant for the location permission, but this could be any permission that you want to request. Okay, so let's ask for permission for that particular location in our case. Okay, so what we need to do is we need something that will be whether we need to rationalize why we need it, why we need that permission or not. So there is this thing called rationale required that we need to set up, and we're going to use activity compat again and should show request permission rationale. There's this method that we can use, and this will basically display why we need the location or not. We need to let the user know, so to speak, why we want to have that permission or not. So we need to pass in a context to this should show permission rationale, because that's what it needs, right? An activity and the permission, null. So it needs to be there. So we are going to give the context as main activity, because we want to pass the context inside of our main activity, or like the context of our main activity as we are inside of the main activity. So basically we're just saying, don't open this permission rationale inside of another screen, do it in the main activities screen, so to speak. And then context main activity, here we're going to say what the permission itself is. And let me see here, manifest dot permission dot, and here access find location is what I'm going to check, and I want to check for both. So should I require the permission rationale for either the find location or for the course location? So course location. Like so. And now you see here we don't necessarily need to say that it is as main activity, because we're using the context up here, but here we just made sure that it is as main activity inside of our should show rationale. But however, you could leave it as such. Okay, it's not going to do anything in there, but basically it's the same thing that happens. So now we get the rationale required. Basically it will be a Boolean. It will just hold information whether we should show the permission rationale, so the reason we want to have permission, or not. So if we need to let the user know about our reasons why we want to have the permission, we need to give a good reason. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a toast here, toast dot make text, and it will need a context. I'm going to pass the context as well as the text that I want to say, well, to display location permission is required for this feature. So here you would give some proper reason for this feature to work. So if the user wants to do anything that requires the location, then you would pass that in there. And then so this make text needs to have a toast dot length long dot show. Okay, so what's going on here? Let me put that into a separate line. So basically we have this toast where we say display something on the screen. We saw what toasts are, these little pop-ups that are displayed at the bottom of our screen, very small indicator which shows text, and we need to pass the context, which we're going to pass this context that will be passed on to our location display composable from our main activities on create function. We will see that later. Then we say what we want to display, how long we want to display it, and then we say that we want to display it. So if we need to display why we need access, we're just going to display this. Obviously you could find other ways to do the same thing, but otherwise we just know that what we need to display here. So if the rationale is not required, so if it's false, then basically what we are gonna have is the situation where we cannot change the settings directly in the app. We need to go to the user setting or the Android phone settings. So in that case, we're going to display a toast saying go to the settings to make the change. So if you've ever seen that, where you basically denied access to an application and then you couldn't request the app couldn't request the permission again, you needed to manually set that setting inside of your Android settings, like in the global Android settings, then that's what you would have. So basically in this case, the else case would then jump in and we would say location permission is required for this feature to work. We can just say something like, please enable it in the Android settings. Okay, and now I believe we should be able to test this. So this whole thing is really going to be our request permission launcher. So let's use that request permission launcher inside of here where we want to request location permission. So here we're going to use our request permission launcher to actually launch it. And we need to pass an array of the different permissions that we want to check. So here I'm going to say array of, and here I'm going to use the two manifest permissions that I want to have. So let me actually copy them from the top here. Like so, this one here. So the course location as well as the find location. So I'm going to start with the find location. The order shouldn't matter too much. So I'm just going to say this array of two permissions is what I want to launch. So we have set up this thing called permission launcher, which is a remember launch for activity result, which basically needs a contract, which we set up. And this is the default appearance of how this looks like. So this is not something that you need to modify or whatever. It's always going to be that exact same thing. The only thing that you would change is the permissions that you want to check. So here, this could be a multitude of permissions. In our case, it's 2 permissions, but it could be 7 permissions that you're requesting in your application. And you would use the same approach that we have here, where you're basically, this is where we are requesting the permissions. And this is where we're actually launching the requesting of those permissions. So here we're using our request permission launcher. Basically, we set everything up here with this bulb request permission launcher. And then this is where we are actually saying the 2 permissions that we want to launch this permission launcher with. In our case, the find location and the course location. Okay, now in order to display this, we need to show it inside of here, or like call our location display in here. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a composable here, my app, and this will be like the parent composable, so to speak. And this my app will need a context, which will be the local context.current. And let me import local context. Basically what it says is, give me the context of the current activity that I'm in. That's what this here does. And then I'm going to set up my location utils, which will be location utils with that context that I just set up. And then I can display my location display, having the location utils as well as the context that I can pass. And now I can use my app inside of this surface and call it. Okay, and now let's run the application. So while it is loading, I'm just going to go over what I'm doing here real quick once again. Okay, I have a permission here that I don't require. Let me get rid of that permission. Okay, so yeah, I had a permission in there that I somehow auto-generated, which then caused a little bit of a problem. Okay, so our application is loading, location not available, get location, that's good. So here I just set up a parent composable, which then displays our location display. But our location display, as we know, needs the location utils in order to ask for permission, as well as the context in order to ask for permission. So that's what we're setting up. We're setting the local context up, which is the current context. So you see here, provides a context that can be used by Android applications. And then we're getting the local or location utils by passing the context to it, which we need, as we saw here, we needed to pass a context. That's what we needed because we wanted to check for permissions, if we have them or not. And then we display the location once we, what is the location composable, once we load my app in here. So there's our application. Let's get the location, and you see our location for permission pops up. So we can say, while using the app, only this time don't allow. And you see precise or approximate. So we're requesting both permissions at the same time. We are requesting the course location, which is this approximate, and we're requesting the precise or the fine location, which is this precise location. We can say, while using the app, only this time don't allow. Okay, so let's say while using the app. Now we do have access to the location, but we don't display the location yet. So let's go over to our settings inside of our phone, and let's actually do that in the next video. Okay, the video is long enough already. In the next video, we're going to see how that has been set up inside of our settings. So see you there.